Group's getting smaller and smaller. Obviously, we're getting out the information, no questions. So good morning. We continue chat with the chairman as we do each month at the beginning of the month at our first morning meeting. This is our opportunity that we want to invite the press to come to have a conversation about things that are going on, update you on any updates that we may have for you on different projects or issues, but also give the press an opportunity to ask questions that they may have in a sense of transparency, as well as we appreciate the work that the press does to help educate our population as long as when it's accurate. We appreciate it. I will start with just a quick Grays Creek Alderman Road Elementary School, Grays Creek and Alderman Road Elementary Schools, filtration systems. I think it's been reported on, but just want to highlight that. So if you look back, this board, one of the first actions that this board did in January of this year was to direct staff to look at point of use water treatment. So we know at those two elementary schools for many years we've had water fountains that kids couldn't use, that teachers couldn't use, that staff couldn't use. We felt it was imperative that we get those fixed. And the simple solution, a very simple solution, was to put filtration systems on those water fountains. So we directed the staff to do that, as well as look at entry points, so into the building systems as well. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that piece due to the way they treat the iron coming into the school, but we are able to do the water fountains, and what we've done is actually had to reconstruct the water fountains to make them to where the filtration system is there, and then you have your water kind of fountain with the container that you can put up in it, and it goes into the container. So about $39,000 plus additional 14 water filling stations, so about $23,000 for that, so a little over $60,000. Again, a simple solution that took about 6-7 months to get in place, and really shorter than that once we let the contract. So I really want to thank the staff and our environmental team for working with the school system. I want to thank both of the principals at those schools for working with us to ensure our goal was to have it in place before we started school. We almost made that, where within a week or so of that happening. And again, this provides at both of those schools, so out of those water filling stations, students, staff, and educators can have clean, safe, regulated drinking water, which is what our goal is. Now, is that the end state? No, that's not the end result. We're going to continue to push forward. We've got several projects as we look at for clean, safe, regulated drinking water that we're continuing to move forward with. There's residential going out to Grays Creek. There's also some additional programs and projects that we're continuing to work on, and we'll continue to update you as we get closer on those, or as we can give you more updates. Just a quick snapshot, a lot of discussion around the emergency shelter and the homeless, the unhoused emergency shelter. So we did do an RFI. We sent that out twice because the first time we sent it out, we expanded the search and requested more applicants. We got about 12 responses. 8 of those met the requirements, and that information will be coming forward to the Unhoused Committee here in the next week or so. And the step in that, there's no step for the commissioners. Now it's on the staff will then look to take follow-up actions on those RFIs based on direction from the committee. But I do want to point out something. So if we look back over the 8 months and what this board has done with the unhoused population and the people that currently are homeless, we've invested over $1 million in this effort so far. And that's actionable dollars. Cold weather protection, so we expanded our coverage across the entire county. When the Salvation Army closed, we stepped up and worked with community partners and invested about $100,000 to put 22 plus families in hotels, and some of them are now in transitional housing, which is exactly where we want them to eventually land into permanent housing. We've also, we know that continuum of care is our backbone partner and backbone entity for homelessness across our community. We invested around $800,000 to invest in the infrastructure of that, meaning staff, to be able to provide the staff that we need to properly manage the programs. And then just recently, we put $250,000 into a homeless prevention and stabilization voucher program. My point in this is we know this is an issue. This has been an issue for many, many years. We have got an unhoused support center that we're working towards that you saw. We approved some preliminary designs on that. That's continuing to work through the committee. But in the meantime, this short-term gap, these are actions that are happening by this board. We understand this is an issue. This issue has been here for a long time. And now we are ensuring that we're putting resources and action as we move forward to a long-term solution of having up to 150 beds across our community for the unhoused. Also want to briefly talk about the Crown Theater and Arena, the RFP. So if you recall, we directed the manager to bring back an RFQ, a request for qualifications for architects or for partners, I should say, for the Crown Theater and Arena. That is scheduled to come back to us on the September 11th work session, where we'll have a conversation about what that RFQ looks like, potentially have a not to exceed amount. So then we have some boundaries on the dollars that we're going to spend up front versus just a blank check. So that's the process, or that's where we are on the Crown Theater and Arena. Now, I want to briefly address the Gillespie Street lot. There's a lot of things flying out there that says that we're building a new parking lot. This board has not voted to build a parking lot. Somehow that is perpetuating in the media, both in opinion pieces as well as some reported pieces. And I will just remind and like to reiterate that we have not authorized the repaving of a parking lot. We have not done that. We are currently in the process of looking for a short-term solution. If you recall, when that parking lot, the Gillespie Street parking lot, was ripped up, there were 200 spots that were lost. So in the short term, we're currently actively looking. We've directed the manager to look at where can we find additional spots, parking spots, whether that's private, public, even outside of that lot without having to repave that lot initially. I just want to reiterate, this board has not authorized the repaving of that lot. We're not there. So now let's talk about what's happening on the Gillespie Street lot. What we did direct the manager to do is to begin to look at options. Of course, repaving it is one, but again, we did not authorize that to happen. So we're looking at economic development opportunities. Could you have different things that are there? We will begin to engage. We've directed our manager to begin to work with Robert Van Giens and the economic development organizations to look at economic development opportunities. We believe that that's a great opportunity for a true public-private partnership. That could be one option. You've heard other options that have been floated out in the community as well. We've just directed the manager to bring us back some of those options. We're going to have a conversation on that at our agenda meeting. Again, nothing has been authorized for us to commit dollars or anything to that parking lot. I want to stress that again because, again, there's been some miscommunication out there, and I want to clearly state that. But we believe there's opportunities for that, whether it's, some kind of economic development project, and there's a long list of what those potentially could be. Or it could be, you could have open spaces. You saw the city of Fayetteville looked at what they were doing down the road for open spaces. You could do something like that. There's a lot of options. We know that that's why we're going to bring it back to the agenda, have a board, have a conversation around it, a public-private partnership with economic development. If that's the direction the board wants to go, then we'll continue to move in that direction. So those are my brief updates on a couple of the the issues that are in front of us, plus just clarifying some information that has been out there in the press, both in reported form as well as opinion form repeatedly. So I wanted to make sure that was clarified on the Gillespie Street lot and what was happening there. So I will open it up for questions at this time.
I got a list. So the county's lawsuit with Chemours is scheduled to start on September 29th. Do you, at this point, is there any real chance of a settlement, or is it going to go to trial?
We continue to move forward with our case with Chemours, and at this time, I don't have anything that I can update you on the outcome of that case.
All right. I've seen a lot of complaints on social media, and also we saw something out of Spring Lake, but Spring Lake didn't lower their tax rate. About their people's tax bills are way higher, and yes, you all made a below revenue neutral, which went beyond the usual typical. But still, if your home went up a lot in value, you're getting a bigger tax bill this year. People are not happy about getting the bigger tax bills. What do you say to those folks?
So a couple things, and we've talked about this before, and we've communicated with the population. I think you saw a board that reduced a tax rate. We're the only ones in the entire county of the municipal of government that actually lowered the tax rate below revenue neutral and lowered it by 6 cents, ensuring that we could keep the level of services that we needed to keep. So what you saw, I just want to remind people, you saw tax values because of COVID, because of an 8-year cycle, dramatically increase. And so there was going to be a line, and Paul, I think you even pointed this out to me at a very early meeting when we started talking about reevaluation. There was going to be a line that if you drop the tax rate by X amount, even going below revenue neutral, that people were still going to feel an increase. And it's in certain bands. If you look at the commercial sector, we're actually seeing in the business sector that the commercial rates actually, people are getting lower tax rates. But at certain ranges within the residential side, there's going to be an increase because it outpaces the rate that we cut it by. And to be able to cut it to ensure that everybody had a tax decrease probably would have been detrimental to some services. So we were as aggressive as we could with lowering your tax rate, 6 cents. So I want to say it's 30 cents lower than it currently was last year.
And then, but the recreation level, it still, I mean, that was only 15 cents, I guess, but
Correct.
that stayed the same.
Correct.
And the reason for not making that one revenue neutral is?
I think when you look at what's happening in our recreational and parks and recreational, we continue to have large needs. So you can fund recreation in one of two ways. You can fund it ongoing, or you can do like the city has done in the past and run a bond, where ultimately what does that mean? Now you get to vote on increasing your tax rate. So I think we saw an opportunity as we begin to look at recreational opportunities across that are equitable across the entire county, not just in certain areas, that is important that we have those investments to be able to do that. So that we maintain that. Now that's not to say it can't change in future years, but as we look at our current recreational assets across this county, we know we need to make some investments. We know there needs to be some investments across the entire county, not just in deferred maintenance, but also in new construction as well.
Are you still tracking to try to get the revaluations every 4 years instead of every 8 years, or maybe a different frequency?
Yeah, we continue to have conversations about that, and we kind of took a breath a little bit from tax reevals, but our tax assessor or tax appraiser will come back and give us another update. They made a recommendation around 6 years based on the cost. We asked some questions. What if we privatized it, which some other communities do? Could it be more cost effective if we do it over 4 years? I think our goal is to make sure that we stabilize it so that you don't have these ebbs and flows that really, if we can stabilize it and you can continue to hold your tax rate or lower your tax rate, ultimately, our goal is always, Paul, to keep more money in people's pockets.
Okay. So Well, you already talked about the parking. You're probably familiar, this new book, The Fort Bragg Cartel, came out on August 12th, and it says a lot of things. And one of the things it does is it portrays local law enforcement as not prosecuting crimes if certain soldiers commit those crimes, and that has included homicide. What do you have to say, if you've seen the book yet or not, if you've read it? I don't know. Tell me. If what this book says is accurate, what changes need to be made here in our system?
I have not read the book yet. I'm aware of it. I will say that our law enforcement and our judicial systems work hard every day for this community. And so, maybe that's a question for the law enforcement or the judicial side. But I will tell you that, we have a strong sheriff system. We have a strong municipal law enforcement departments across our county. And we have a judicial system that is second to none. And so, again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what the details are or what they're portraying to be. But I'll remind you that sometimes, is it fact or is it a blending of the fact?
Well, that's a fair question. Well, after you read it, we'll have a conversation.
Maybe I'll read it.
Okay. Or watch the HBO series, which is coming. Why make the changes in the governance of the Fayetteville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau to the TDA?
So that has not been discussed yet by this board. It's coming to the board on the agenda session. So I think there's conversations around that. Remember, the TDA, the Tourism Development Association Authority, is its own authority. So they can act. Our role of governance on them is to appoint people to the TDA board. So our board looks forward to having a conversation with our attorney and the manager on that at the agenda session, which that's where it'll be brought back to.
Okay. The city is tracking, if they haven't already, got to check what the outcome was of the August 25th meeting, to annex the property where you guys had rejected the rezoning for a solar farm for the Public Works Commission. So they're kind of going around you here. What do you think of that? What's your comment? I mean, you voted against this project in the rezoning request. They're going to do it anyway.
I think that's the client's or the customer's option. If they choose to go through the city to be rezoned, then they have that ability to do that. And recall, we did not. I'll leave it at that. It's their choice. It's PwC's choice if they wish to go through the county or they wish to go through the city.
Right, but the county, when it controlled the land, felt it was in the best interest to not have a solar farm there. One is coming anyway. What are your thoughts?
If you recall, it was a 3-3 vote, so this board took no action.
That's fair. It didn't approve it. You're right.
That's right. So we took no action.
Yeah.
We had some additional questions that night, I think you heard, but this board took no action.
Okay. So then, regarding the Grays Creek water, can you speak to why your predecessors never pursued this filter solution at the water fountains?
I can only look forward, Paul, and say what this board's actions are. We have a board that's very focused on ensuring that we do the foundational work here. And the foundational work is investing in public education, investing in clean, safe, regulated drinking water. And our actions are just that. You're seeing us do those types of things. When we invest over $500 million in our education system, something that's never been done before, and fully fund the school system's requests, as well as $250 million into our water and sewer to ensure that we have clean, safe, regulated drinking water. That speaks to the priorities of this board. I can't speak to previous boards.
Okay. I think I've hit them all.
Thank you, Paul.
So related to the Gillespie Street lot, what was the cost to raise that and the options that y'all are looking at? Are y'all also considering making sure that that was not a lost cost to taxpayers?
So I think that's part of it. So one of the things, so your first question was how much did it cost to actually level it?
Right.
What was it? I don't remember off the top of my head. We'll get you that. I can't remember the exact dollar amount. And I don't want to quote it wrong. But I think that's one of the things that this board is looking at, and we're having the conversations that we'll have with our manager is to look at, look, if it ends up, I mean, right now, if you talk to, engineers and developers, they'll tell you that that is plat ready. So it's site ready, basically. And so I think that's a piece of, if we look at a public-private partnership, that investment that we've already made is going to go right back into that public-private partnership. So if you had some kind of, whatever it may be, the impact or the investment that the public side would be making would be part of that site prep. So remember, some of those dollars were site prep as well as acquisition as well, because we acquired some pieces of property that were on that Gillespie Street lot. So our hope is that, of course, we want to minimize the actual sunk costs that are there, but believe that if we put a development there, a public-private partnership, or even just a pure private development, the investments that we've already made could serve potentially as some type of incentive or are part of that public-private partnership.
And then kind of switching gears to Grays Creek on the residential side, what phase or where do things kind of stand? Because I feel like there's been a lot of moving parts between funding. I think EPA has changed guidelines with testing and regulations and things like that. So for the county's, concerns, where does it stand?
So again, we're still moving through the process. So there's several things. Remember, you have PWC, which is putting a line. That line's going to the schools. And then we are looking at about 155 contaminated homes where we're putting a line system in place. We will be working with PWC to purchase water from PWC. That's in what we're calling phase 2. So as you understand, this is kind of a process that we have to go through, getting approved at DEQ, getting testing and all those types of things. So it is continuing to move forward. We expect to have that in place probably late next year. And I need to confirm that timeline. And again, the requirements really at the national level aren't affecting our timeline. We're still going to put the permanent water solutions in place, and understanding that water is going to be filtered or from PWC.
That's all I got.
Anything else?
Yeah, y'all had the people come in for the community grants today. If I'm understanding things correctly, and steer me right if I'm not understanding it right, this comes from ARPA funding, or it's related to that, and I think ARPA is going to be ending. So are you going to be able to continue to offer these kind of grants going forward?
So those were initially done from freed up capacity from our ARPA dollars, from our ARP dollars, American Rescue Plan dollars. And so we had the capacity to empower our nonprofits. We will look to, so we didn't use all the dollars. We'll continue to have some additional grant cycles. We thought it was important, especially the focus on youth, public safety, and some of the other areas. We want to ensure we got those dollars out before the summer started or while the summer was happening, because some of those were summer programs as well as they went back to school, after school programs. So it's our intent that we'll have another cycle later in the year, and we'll work till we extinguish all those funds and any additional funds that we can put into that. Because we believe making investments in our nonprofits that help us fill the gaps in our community are extremely critical.
Do you have a sense for how much is left?
I don't off the top of my head, because it's kind of a moving number, but when we announce the next round, that will give you a dollar amount. And we'll probably do that later in the fall.
Okay.
And it is the fall, but October, November timeframe.
Oh, okay.
Day 1, September, so I guess it's kind of almost the fall.
Yeah, yeah.
It's football season, so it's the fall.
It feels like fall.
Unless you're
outside.
a UNC fan. Sorry, Commissioner Patel. I know we were hurting a little last night.
Yeah, it was a $30 million investment, I think. So, all right.
Anything else? All right. Thank y'all so much. Thank you for being here, and want to, again, thank you for what y'all do and making sure you help us educate the public. Thank you.